The BS Report is a free-flowing conversation that occasionally touches on mature subjects.
First of all,
this is the BS Report with Bill Simmons.
It might be cool, I don't know. And if it's not, I don't care.
The BS Report with Bill Simmons.
Bill Simmons works for ESPN. He's also named the Sports Guy, and he writes a comical sports column. He must be a popular dude.
The BS Report.
It's got a real dirty sound, like a rusty steak knife cutting through a well-aged steak.
Now.
Here's Bill Simmons.
Welcome to the BS Report, Part 2 of the Mega Playoff Podcast. If you missed Part 1, check that out on iTunes or ESPN.com's Pod Center. We have Marc Stein still on the line. We actually somehow carried him over from Part 1 to Part 2. I don't know how we had the technology to do that. And now, on the Subway Fresh Tech Hotline as well, Ric Bucher. A three-man weave. What's happening?
Three-man weave on a landline for Bucher. Can you believe it?
So good.
I pulled out the stops just because you decided to do a three-man and because Steiny Mo decided to stick around.
Steiny Mo just made the case for the Bulls. He picked Bulls-Lakers. He thinks the Bulls are ready. He thinks that when the only argument is a lack of quote-unquote big game experience, that's not a good enough argument. I agree with him. I have heard you on the radio. You have made the case for my beloved Boston Celtics.
I'm a man on an island at this point. With those guys, I'm the last true believer. But I look, I can see the case for the Bulls. And they've done everything. What they've done has demonstrated that they should be considered as a possibility for doing it all. It's just I haven't seen enough of their guys in a pivotal Game 4 on the road or a big Game 5 at home, and they rely so heavily on Derrick Rose. I'm just wondering at what point does Carlos Boozer blink, or does Joakim Noah does he get exposed a little bit? And that's the one reason that I have stuck with the Celtics. Not so much that I really believe as much as I haven't found the convincing argument elsewhere. I've seen them under pressure. I've seen them step up when it matters the most. I still believe that they have enough of those guys who have done it, and that their sorrow over Kendrick Perkins having gone and departed, that they'll find their way back to that. I go back to when they lost Perkins in Game 7. I mean, that was the perfect chance for this team emotionally to crater, and instead they came out with one of the great performances for me in NBA Finals history. So I know it's there. It's just a question of whether we're going to see it.
Steiny Mo, what do you think of that case?
Here's the thing. The Bulls are going to be in the conference finals before any of that matters. Indy obviously can't beat them.
Right.
This Orlando mess can't beat them.
Right.
So they're going to be in the conference finals and actually have a little of this experience they lack by the time they see whoever it is, the Heat or the Celtics. So that's why, again, are they ready? We don't know until we see it, but ready to win this East, the state of a conference where all these teams are a mess. Yeah.
I would say that's fair. The one caveat that I have is that with each level you go to, the pressure changes, and I need to know, Keith Bogan's had a hard enough time knocking down open threes during the regular season. If it swings to him and it's a series decider, you could say the same for Kyle Korver, for any guy on that team. Are they going to deliver when they know that, okay, we're running the last play, the ball's in my hands, this decides whether we go to the conference finals or not. This decides whether we go to the finals or not. Until I see a guy at least one time make that kind of shot, and I get his temperature, and I say, you know what, that guy's not afraid of that moment, then I wonder. And so
I like when Buke plays this card, because it's such a valid card to play, and it's something that people always forget, that the regular season is so much different than the playoffs for that specific reason. Who can you go to war with when it matters the most? You saw that Celtic team last year. They're about one guy short in Game 7, right?
Yep.
Perkins was out. You mentioned Bogans. I don't think he's going to be out there. Korver and Dang, to me, are the guys that are going to decide this Bulls season.
Yeah, that's a fair. I forgot Dang, and Dang's a guy who's going to have to give them performances. You know, the other part for me is you just look at them. I believe you got to have another guy who can score 30 at some point in a playoff game. At least
Boozer.
A threat of 30.
That's Boozer.
Well, okay, but Boozer struggles against length. So who is he going to give me that 30 against?
Well, I think we need to put it like this. If the Celtics beat the Knicks and then beat the Heat, they probably will have refueled their swagger tank, and they probably will look like the Celtics that we're used to, even if they don't have Perkins.
Right. Yeah, it's a fair point.
Now, if it's the Heat in the conference finals, they have all the same questions that the Chicago team does.
Yeah, the one question that I have with Miami is I actually feel as if this Sixers matchup could be the worst thing for them.
Wow.
Because they're going to be able to play up-tempo, and they're going to win this series. I believe they'll win it easily. And it'll be a little bit like Atlanta, where they get this false sense of where they are. And then they run into Boston, Chicago, teams that are not going to allow them to get any fast break points, are not going to turn the ball over, are going to put a whole different kind of pressure on them. And that's the part. I will say this. I totally understand. We're going back to the point about guys who have sort of faced the music and stared it down. That's why Mike Bibby makes perfect sense to me. For whatever his defensive liabilities are, that's a guy who will not be afraid of the moment. And I believe that they took a long, hard look at Mario Chalmers and Carlos Arroyo and said, nah, these guys they're not going to be able to carry the water in the postseason. Let's go get a guy that he may have some deficiencies, but if it's swung to him, he's going to think he's supposed to take it and make it.
Well, but if Mike Miller's the opposite.
If Shaq can't score, though, who is going to hurt Miami inside?
What's that?
If Shaq isn't healthy enough to play and actually run some offense through him, who else do they have that's really going to hurt Miami with their size? I don't think anybody.
It's not a matter of size. I mean, I go back. You know, it's funny because when I saw that the result, I saw the score of the last Celtics Heat game before I actually saw the game, and I started watching. I started watching it. I'm like, man, this beginning is completely different from the result, because for the first 5 minutes, the Celtics were better in that game than they were in the previous two. They got everything they wanted. They got Bosch in immediate foul trouble. And then whether it was fatigue, whether you credit, Miami ratcheting up their defense to a certain extent and playing with a desperation that we hadn't seen, the Celtics just simply stopped executing. They stopped doing what had made the game so easy for them. Well, and then the route was on. But I seeing the first couple minutes of that game, it did not dissuade me from the fact that I believe that if Boston does what it's capable of doing, Miami cannot beat them.
As a Celtics fan, I just worry that it's a jump shooting team. You always hear Barkley in the post games. He's like, they're shooting too many jump shots. Yeah. You got to get to the rim. You got to get points in the paint. You're going to lose if you're going with the jump shots. That's the Celtics right now. That's
where Rondo is the most essential player right now, because he has to get into the paint. It's not so much jump shots, but if they're mid-range, uncontested, or they're rotating the ball. You got guys back. When Rondo gets into the paint, everything changes. Now you got guys coming down the baseline for him to dish to. The one thing that they miss is he could always sort of lob it a little. It's a poor man's Andrew Bynum for the Lakers. He could just throw it up around the rim, and Perk could get some of those and finish some of those. But he has to. I was looking at the wins and losses. He shoots like 50%.
I saw that.
Has 12.5 assists in their wins. He shoots 40% and has like 8 assists in their losses. That's over the course of a season. That's a big statistical swing. You rarely see it that dramatic within.
Here's one possible explanation for that, though, is that if they're playing really good defense, he's getting opportunities and points and 2-on-1s and 3-on-2s that he's not normally getting if they're not. So it kind of ties together. But I agree with you. And you look at how Rondo was playing last year. versus how he was playing the first 2 months of this year versus how he's playing now, and he's a different guy. And they're yelling at him to shoot. Yep. And he's only doing it. Yep. Sometimes he makes me nervous if that's the swing guy. The other thing I worry about is I just hate having these teams that just rely on jump shots and that's it. And it's weird to be in a situation where you're praying that Shaq can come back because he's 400, but they need him. He was good for them the first half of the season because he could carry their offense for 5 minutes at a time. Yeah, yeah. And he won games for them.
And we're not gonna get Shaq Dwight, which was the individual matchup that I was most looking forward to because I just think that would have been absolute unmissable theater to see those two guys go against each other in a series. Yeah. But Shaq Miami would be pretty good too, so he better be ready for that series.
Hey, Buke. Yeah. Steiny Mo is all lathered up because there's never been a Dirk Kobe playoff series, and he's all fired up for it. What are the odds?
I think they're decent odds. I mean, the Blazers are my pick to upset the Mavs in the first round.
I don't know if it's an upset anymore because we haven't heard anybody pick the Mavericks.
Yeah, the upset is picking the Mavs.
It's probably true. I believe there's a possibility there, but I have to say that with that in mind, and the Lakers getting New Orleans in the first round, this could not have, for a team that kind of lagged its way into the postseason, they've got such a nice road now where New Orleans, they should be able to get that done early and rest. Then they get the Mavs with the home court advantage. I don't see them having a problem there. And so then if they have to see Oklahoma City in the conference finals, again, you've had plenty of time to sort of retool, and they have a chance of being well rested going into that series. I just for the way the Lakers have looked, I look at their past now and I go, it is very conducive to them getting back to the finals for sure.
Do you guys agree that Memphis Lakers would have been a shockingly tough series for the Lakers, or am I the only one who thinks this?
I love it. I mean, I'm a Memphis guy. I've been a Memphis guy. I think I've backed off them just a little bit here as we got close to the playoffs, just because the reality does set in that whoever they play is going to be smart and just blanket Zach with double teams, make these other guys make shots, and are they really going to get enough? Do they have enough shot makers without Rudy Gay to really succeed? But I mean, Tony Allen on Kobe, Gasol on his brother, Zach in the paint against Bynum if he plays or whoever. I mean, that would have been awesome.
I got to be honest. I don't. It would be one thing for them to be facing the Spurs. The fact that they tanked 2 games so they could face the Spurs. I think of the pride of that San Antonio team, and I think of Popovich and all that he's going to go into game planning the Grizzlies. And I feel as if, you know what, if you could have just snuck into this, you'd be much better off. Having rattled the Spurs cage, I believe now they're going to get whatever the Spurs have left. And Manu's elbow is obviously a huge concern. He's got to be some semblance of Manu for them to be themselves. But that said, I feel like the Grizzlies are too young and inexperienced to call out the San Antonio Spurs. And I've been a guy who hasn't believed in their record all year long, but this is a little much.
What do you think, Steiny Mo?
Well, nobody takes away a team's number one option like San Antonio. Yeah. So over the course of a series, they are going to find a way to at least slow Randolph down. I mean, you saw last year, Kidd had this great year shooting from the 3, and then the Spurs just took it away and just wiped it out, and the Mavs didn't have a counter. Now, they're not going to slow Zach Randolph down completely, but they are going to make these other guys make shots, and even if Manu is compromised, they're going to win that series.
And Buke's favorite player, Tony Parker, is probably going to have his way with Mr. Mike Conley, I'm guessing.
He's going to have to. I believe that's going to be key to this series. If I believe Tony still owes us a little bit for the Finals MVP that he was granted way back when. So I'm expecting some payback. I think he's got to make another deposit on that by.
You know what? Though I actually voted. I gave my third team All NBA vote to Tony over Manu.
Wow.
Wow.
I was convinced.
Did you do it? Did you just do it to spite me?
No, because I love my lefties. I'm a long time
Manu is a lefty
fan, but I did my research and everybody said Tony was more consistent. He didn't get any credit for it, but he was probably their most consistent player, so I gave it to him.
I would have disqualified him for the Brent Barry thing, but that's just me. You get disqualified for 1 year from all award voting.
Or more.
Or maybe the next 5 years. So, Buke, you're not buying the Spurs at all. You're not taking them seriously even a little.
No, I honestly feel I gave Popovich my Coach of the Year award because I feel as if they had no business even flirting with the best record in the league and having the best record in the Western Conference. And so but all that said, the way they play, if I'm going to be critical of the Miami Heat and say that they don't have what it takes to win a championship, I have to look at the Spurs the same way. The Spurs defense, they're a middle of the pack defense, and they live off of the versatility and depth of their bench, and they shoot a ton of threes. That's just, look, we have all said it at some point going into playoffs that those elements are not what make up a title contending team. And it's just weird to apply that to the San Antonio Spurs, but if you look at them, it's applicable. So how can we get around?
No, they've been saving Duncan to switch back in the playoffs. They're going to switch back to their old identity once the playoffs.
Is that right? You know what? What scares me are the times when I see Tim when he falls and he has to get back up, and he can't. It's like a cantilever. He can't straighten that leg out. I'm like, holy cow! He better not fall too often.
Him and KG have roughly the same amount of miles on them.
Yeah.
But Duncan's miles are different miles because he logs so many playoff games.
Yeah.
And every playoff game counts as what do you think, a game and a half?
Yeah, and he's also, I believe that all those years on the post, grinding away, and let's face it, he's a heavier, stronger guy. Lugging that body up and down a court is different than the wiry KG. KG is really just like a 7-foot Ethiopian marathon runner in some ways.
It's like Serge Ibaka 15 years from now.
Exactly.
Basically. Buke, what subplot, what series, whatever are you the most excited about for these next 10 weeks, if you had to pick one thing?
Oh, quite honestly, whoever's in the Eastern Conference Finals, I don't care whether it's Bulls Celtics or Bulls Miami. I would say I would love to see a Bulls Miami series probably more than anything.
Well, for us, it's like that's everything we believe in basketball is at stake in that series, basically.
Yes, absolutely.
I was on the radio in Miami with Levitard on Monday. He's my friend, so I get mad at him. But he made me so mad I was actually screaming because he's like, "This is what I believe. The talent's going to win out," and I'm like, "The Bulls have more talent. You're making a case for the Bulls.
Yeah.
Their best 4 is better than Miami's best 3." And I just think if Miami wins that series and everybody's healthy on both sides, I'm going to have to reevaluate everything I ever thought I knew about basketball.
Yeah, well, and quite honestly, I believe that a lot of people in the league will too. Obviously, it's a question of what we look like when we come out of the collective bargaining agreement. But the feeling is that you can't build championship teams the way the Miami Heat went about it. That's just not how it's done. And so they would change that template. I would say this too. You know what amazes me is just talking to people. How many people, either GMs, coaches, players, whether they are in the league or they used to be in the league, and it might even be more among people who used to be in the league, they do not want to see the Heat succeed. There's just a distaste for everything about that situation. Right. It's almost, and I've never seen guys show their hands about a team that they do not want to see win and take it almost personally as much as I've seen in this case.
And they've had a bullseye on their back really since October 30th or October 31st, whenever the season started. Now we're at heading into month 7 in a couple weeks.
The big question for me is
there's no one in the East to punish them. The Bulls are the closest thing to a powerhouse. There is no powerhouse who's going to make them pay.
The question that I have, though, is the first when they have that first loss, when they have that first confidence shaking result, and I don't know where it's going to come, but they're going to have one. And whether it's losing the first game of a series at home, whatever it might be, I want to see how long it takes them to recover, because that's been the one element. They to me are a emotionally, psychologically fragile team, and when they get knocked back a peg, it takes them a while to find themselves again.
Well, especially Bosch. I mean, isn't Bosch the giant X factor of this whole playoffs? What has this guy ever come through?
The problem I see there, quite honestly, is that if they're going to have to play slow, they're not going to have enough possessions to get him involved. And without him getting, feeling good about his game, I don't know what you get out of him. And so now we're not talking about 3 stars. We're talking about them trying to get something done with 2.
But that's why I don't get the outrage about the Heat, because the outrage is based on the theory that Bosch is an equal to LeBron and Wade. But then whenever we start actually talking about the basketball and breaking them down, it's Bosch is an X factor. There's so much doubt about what he can actually do when it matters.
But the outrage is all about the pomp and circumstance, the lasers and the and the smoke and all that stuff.
But the premise that these are 3 super greats who've united. They're not 3 super greats. I mean,
I honestly feel as if that the outrage is over their 3 super egos. That's where Bosch. I got to say, that's where Bosch is their equal.
Well,
he can preen and strut pretty much with the best of them.
But I mean, this is the way we're feeling now in mid-April 2011. I think the feeling back last summer was that Bosch was a franchise guy. And now I think that now that people have watched him and seen how mediocre he is defensively and what a head case he is, I don't think there's anybody that feels like this is a franchise guy.
I will say I had my doubts, and I thought, while I thought he was the 3rd guy, I thought that he would be able to fit in and still be effective on some level. That's been the real surprise, is that one, he hasn't been able to adjust, and I guess the other part for me that's really surprising is that, and this would probably be for collectively with these guys, no sense of urgency. Like when I hear Bosch say, forget that he wants to, Spoelstra was serious and we want to chill, but halfway through the season where he's saying, this is a different role for me. It's probably going to take me a full year before I really understand it. I'm like,
it's basketball.
Well, and you don't have a full year. I mean, this is what's always bothered me about LeBron, is that it's always next season. It's always we're getting better, or it's around the corner. It's like, dude, you better realize that, every day goes by, there's another guy out there that there's another Derrick Rose being built that is going to cut short your opportunity. You better seize the moment. If you
and also you have, Dwayne Wade, who the hell knows with his body how many years he has left at an elite level.
Right, that's all what I'm saying. It's like it's just, to me, when I hear that the old guys don't like it, it's just, we're blowing up the guys that LeBron hooked up with. We're inflating how good they really are when we say, oh no, the veterans back in the day, they would never team up like this. I wish we could go back in time, and I wish the Bulls had a consistent team to play that's as good as the Lakers, and then we would have seen Jordan trading Pippen or doing whatever he had to do to get a different hand.
But it's. I mean, look, they've all the alpha dogs have come out and said, I wouldn't do that, and honestly, I believe that to be true. It's one thing. Yeah, I mean, you're saying trade Pippen to go get another guy.
It's easy for those alpha dogs to say it, because the Magic and Larry alpha dogs were on teams with 7 great players in a 23-team league. Jordan can say he would never do it because he has all those championships and doesn't have anything to prove. Barkley did do it. I mean, what was Houston?
But here's the thing. I mean, not to rehash this whole LeBron thing, but if LeBron was really about winning championships, did he go to the best team he could go to?
No, he should have gone to Chicago.
So that's the end of the story for me. That is where, if he had, I guarantee you, if he had gone to Chicago, those guys would have looked at it differently than going to Miami and then talking about winning 8 championships. I believe that combination, dude. You didn't even make the best choice.
I know. I said that.
Now you're saying you're going to win 8 in a row, which none of us would ever talk about or even came close to doing. I mean, to me, it was. Whether he meant to or not, he's sort of slapping them all in the face, saying, I can do whatever I want.
Well, and then the other part of it is that he chose to play with Dwayne Wade, who is one of the few guys in the league he should have been obsessed with beating. And I think that's what the old guard had a lot of issues with. But You're right. If I just think they misevaluated Bosch, because what LeBron and Wade really should have done is just the two of them should have gone to Chicago. They would have won 10 straight titles.
Yeah.
And instead, they were like, oh, we'll be good with Bosch. But the reality is that team would have been much better if they had spent the money they spent on Bosch on Luis Scola, Raymond Felton, Anthony Morrow, and one banger. Could have gotten 4 guys for that Bosch money.
I believe there's a couple. As much as I have lauded Pat for pulling it off, I believe they overspent on Mike Miller. I believe they overspent on Haslam. I mean, they've locked themselves in. What I do believe he did with those 3 guys is, while not looking at it and saying this is the perfect combination, he had all this money to spend and all this space, and he collected assets. And if you're talking about assets, I would still rather have Chris Bosh at that number than have an Amari Stoudemire. Or even, quite honestly, a Carlos Boozer. If you look at the bigs that were available on the market, Chris Bosh, in terms of moving him, still might be more viable. You still might be able to get something more for him than you could for one of those 2
Houston
other guys.
And Minnesota, I think, would overpay for him, I'm guessing. Hey,
I think your boys down in Houston would.
Yeah, absolutely. Buke, last thing, because we got to go.
Yep.
Lakers, this is, you've watched them as intently as anybody but Adonde. Where are you standing with them?
I believe that they are fortunate that they have the path that they have. I'm troubled by the number of athletic scoring guards who can just put 30 on them with ease.
Yeah.
But I just look, their margin of error is thinner without question. Again, it's a little bit like I look at the Celtics in the East. I can't see that other team that has quite enough to convince me not to stay with the Lakers. If they got beat, I would not be shocked. But there's not enough someplace else for me to say to take somebody else as the favorite right now.
Steiny Mo, objective opinion, because you're not tanning like Buke on Kobe. Has Kobe slipped this season?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is just staying cool. He's just letting the rage bubble over too much.
Well, you know why that is.
But that's him. I mean, that's him. I mean, trying to change him is, nobody.
But it's because the game comes harder to him now. He has to work so much harder for everything that he gets. And, I've been struck by the big shots that he's made. They're all deep threes.
Yeah.
When a game's on the line, that's sort of his go-to thing, and that's kind of the last refuge, because even if he gets to the elbow, he's got to triple pump to get the airspace to get that shot. And there's times where he's already kind of having an eye looking for Powell or for Lamar, like he did last night, rolling to the basket. He's making that pass more than he ever has before.
I don't think he's lost the fear factor, though, because last night I heard this so many times. When people heard about the fine, literally 5 people, the first 5 people I talked to all said, oh, you watch how pissed Kobe's going to be. He's going to go for 50 against Sacramento. I mean, Everybody still thinks he's capable of...
He still has the intimidation factor. I will give you that. But he is not the same player. He has to work. I'm not going to bet against him, but the game, it comes much, much harder to him. And that's the other matchup that I'd like to see. I wonder whether this is a replica of the teams and the type of players where we have Derrick Rose in Chicago going into LA and we crown a new king of the closers in the way that Jordan took away Magic Johnson's throne.
And Kobe's entered that very, very dangerous area where his confidence is higher than his talent. And I saw this happen with Bird the last couple of years in Boston. We saw it with Jordan in Washington. I don't know if he's there yet, but he's getting to the point where his talent isn't backing up how confident he is in that talent. And it might be this year, it might be next year, I don't know. But I'm starting to feel like this could be the year where we see it, because over anything else that shocked me this year, the fact that at the end of these games, these defenders are playing right in his chest now.
Yep.
They don't think Kobe can go by them.
Yep.
And as you pointed out, with the threes now, he's doing these triple clutch threes to try to get a shot off because the defenders are standing 2 feet away from him.
All that degree of difficulty over the years is actually coming to his aid, because he's been taking difficult. This isn't anything new. They're a little more frequent.
Yeah, I watched that with Bird. Bird hit a point where teams just kind of realized, oh, wait, he can't get to the rim anymore. Yeah. And then it just became all degree of difficulty, 20-footers and jump shots and post-up moves and things like that, which if you're smart enough, you can pull it off. Anyway, guys, let's do this again before round 2. Ric Bucher, Marc Stein, thank you.
See ya.
All right, now we're going to New York City as well as Washington, D.C. We're going 3-man again. Chad Millman, soon to be the new ESPN The Magazine editor-in-chief. Congratulations, buddy.
Thanks, buddy. I appreciate it.
We are going to talk about the Vegas implications of the first round of the playoffs. Also on the line, my buddy House, who just wanted to be involved. House, what's happening?
Yeah.
Are we going to do a 3-man weave?
We're doing a little 3-man action.
I got the weave part. I did it. I did my hair special today.
This morning?
I did.
And how about this? We just had a 3-man with Stein and Bucher, so it's been a menage a trois extravaganza, menage a pod. So let's do first round series first. The Bulls are minus 3,500, Heat minus 2,000. Gets a little more interesting with the Magic minus 600 and the Celtics, shockingly, minus 400. The Knicks are plus 300 underdogs. Chad Millman, explain.
Well, you haven't even mentioned to me the most interesting one. I mean, are we starting with the East? Is this the protocol?
We started with the East. We're going to save the West because the West is more fascinating.
Well, to me, the Celtics are one of those teams where, and the guys I've spoken to in the last 24 hours, nobody likes the Celtics. They might like them to get out of this series, but in the long run, nobody likes them. And you can probably speak to this as well as they can. They hate the Kendrick Perkins trade. They feel like that has destroyed this team. They don't care what the stats say.
Great.
They just feel like it has completely changed the makeup of this team, and they're completely against the Celtics. Last year when it came down to the playoffs, even though the Celtics weren't that great at the end of the year, they were a team that people had confidence in because they were building towards something and they knew they could turn it on in the playoffs. But they don't feel that way this year, and it's largely because of Kendrick Perkins. They just have no faith in this team without him.
House?
I feel pulled in a couple of different directions because I have a very strong response to everything Chad just said. I agree with every bit of it, but I'm going to try and channel my best Rudy Tomjanovich here. You never question the heart of a champion. And, these guys have been there, done that, and we learned last year that you can't count them out once the playoffs get going. And the thing that I'm interested in seeing is what impact Shaq has.
Right now, he's having an impact on a walking boot.
I got it, but,
I guess I feel the difference is that the teams at the top of the Eastern Conference this year are much, much stronger than the teams that were at the top of the Eastern Conference last year that the Celtics had to get through to get to the finals.
So down on the Celtics, how are they feeling about long-term Bulls versus Heat? Because it seems like that's where we're headed.
Well, that's going to be an interesting series, and I think that's going to be the kind of series where it's never going to be, it's always going to be sort of, the point spread is always going to be within 4 or 5 points depending on where they are, and it's so evenly matched. I think at the end of the day, the guys I've spoken to like the Heat because over a 7-game series, the trio is probably, you go with the best athletes. And
wait, I'm sorry to interrupt, Chad, but why are we talking about the Bulls and the Heat? Why aren't we talking about Orlando and the Heat potentially?
I just haven't heard one person say that they are interested in that they have any faith that the Magic can get there.
House, we're going to cut you off if you say something as dumb as that ever again.
Wow. Well,
Orlando, what are you talking about?
I mean, they almost feel irrelevant to me right now.
Yeah, you're saying Orlando can get by the Bulls, is your point.
I think it's feasible. I don't think that the Bulls are going to sweep Orlando. I mean, I think that the Bulls haven't done anything. This Bulls team hasn't won a single playoff game.
I like it. Joe House, bring in the thunder.
We're kind of dealing with dueling credos here. A team that's put together like the Bulls are, you never pick them the very first year that they're in and running. Even though they had a great regular season, we have no idea whether or not they have another gear. We know Orlando has another gear. We
also know where Orlando's gear stops.
That's true.
I kind of feel like Orlando is a team that isn't really made up very well right now and hasn't really found its groove. It certainly hasn't found a groove since they were knocked out of the playoffs last year, to me. They have not been nearly the team they were supposed to be.
So,
the Bulls have exceeded expectations at every level, and Derrick Rose has morphed into something so much beyond what anyone expected him to be, and the team built around him has been phenomenal, and they have the post play they need. They have guys on the wing that they need. They're running the way they can. And so to me, the Bulls already at this point are beyond, even if you don't think they have the gear in the playoffs because you haven't seen it yet, it doesn't mean that I don't think they're going to get to the finals. These Bulls, nobody was expecting Michael Jordan's Bulls to get to the finals of a conference until they got to the finals of the conference. And then it was so clear and so obvious. You look back and you're like, how could I not have seen that this team was going to put on that gear and get to that level? That's what I think of this Bulls team. Do I think they can beat the Heat? That I'm not convinced of yet, and I think I need to see both teams get to the playoffs and playing up to the level of competition when they play the Magic or in the next round whoever the Heat end up playing. But I just don't see how the Bulls lose to the Magic.
House?
I just think it's funny that we're dismissing the team with the league MVP, at least according to all of the stat heads.
Oh, nice little dig at the stat heads. So, House, your argument is the Bulls are in fifth gear and have been in fifth gear for the last 2 months. Orlando is in either second or fourth gear, depending on the game. Once the playoffs start, they move to fifth gear. The Bulls don't have the extra gear, and also they have that whole thing of, we're the favorites. Everybody's looking at us. Everybody expects us to win. Things aren't going our way. We're getting a little tight. A little bit like the 2008 Celtics where they had to go 7 against the Hawks and 7 against the Cavaliers. You could see that happening with this Bulls team.
Yeah, in fact, I think we have kind of a good recent example of this when the Magic beat Cleveland 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Nobody gave the Magic a chance in that series. Cleveland rolled all season long. I think that was the year they won 61 games, it was because they won 66 the following.
You know what year that was? That was the year that Cousin Sal and I had the Cavs, had heavy Cavs to win the whole thing, plus LeBron Finals MVP. That series cost us probably as much as a car lease.
Here's the problem. House is using is I believe the argument for the Celtics. I don't buy that same argument for the Magic. They are not the same team as the Celtics. They are not the same. They don't have the same veteran presence. They don't have the same history and legacy of winning that the guys in the Celtics do.
Well, the one thing with Orlando,
at the most important times, they haven't shown the heart that the Celtics have.
But Orlando does have the capability, which they did have in 2009. I think House agrees with me, of they can get hot in a series and start making threes,
especially from three.
That's what I mean.
The best part of all of this is that I hate Orlando. I don't think they have a chance, but I don't think you can dismiss them out of hand. I don't think we can just say, the East, it's going to be the Bulls and the Heat. I think the Bulls are going to have a pretty rough go of it.
I think the Bulls are a juggernaut, and maybe I've been sucked into this before with the team that's in fifth gear, and I keep forgetting that you need the extra gear, but my whole thing with them is they really haven't been together except for these last 6-7 weeks. I feel like they're just getting better and better and better. Like when they played the Celtics last week, they had that look that I'm looking for.
That's what I think. They have, you look at Derrick Rose when he's interviewed, he's not getting excited about anything.
No.
He is as on message as any politician has ever been on message for anything. And it's like all he's thinking about is next game, let's win. Next game, let's win. And it is a joy as a Chicago guy who likes the Bulls. it is a joy to see that coming from that particular team, which has been such a mess for so many years, and to see it develop. They just, last night I was looking through their game by game, the spreads and sort of how they changed, and you could see how the market changed with them, and they were still beating the market. This was a team that was second best against the spread this year after Memphis. Yeah. And the spreads were getting tighter in their games, and they were going on the road as much shorter favorites, or the spreads were -5 down to -3 and things like that, and they were still exceeding expectations. And so it's just I'm saying +5 to +3. I mean, and they were still exceeding expectations.
So, is it fair to say, like we always, during football season, we talk about, and during March Madness, we talk about the teams that the bet on, the bet off teams, right?
Yep.
That's what they're called. Do we have this for NBA playoffs?
Well, you have the bet on, you're talking about there's the teams that you want to bet on and bet against, are they playing each other? So in that respect, yeah. I mean, the wise guys will tell you that the Grizzlies are a bet on team and the Spurs are a bet against team.
Really?
Because the Grizzlies had the best record against the spread this year, and they have been consistently undervalued by bookmakers.
Well, let me interrupt you for a second. The odds of that series, considering it's a number 1 against a number 8, House, you want to guess? What are the Spurs favored?
Spurs -500?
-360. That might be the lowest the 1 seed has been since the lockout season.
That's crazy. What's the current story on Ginobili's elbow?
It's not good. I mean, he's playing, but he's hurt.
Oh.
But I think it's as much about the Grizzlies as it is about the Spurs.
Yeah.
This is a team that has captivated the wise guys this year, and they've made a lot of money on the Grizzlies. They won 52 games against the spread.
What?
Yeah.
That's great.
Isn't that crazy?
I love the Grizzlies.
52-30 against the spread.
52-30 against the spread. So, I'm going to double check that while we're talking, but and it's they like the way they took care of the ball. They like the way they rebound. They like the way they play in the post. And so they feel like when games are close, they've been taking good shots. And that's why they like them, and they feel like this is a great matchup for them, if not necessarily to win, to at least be close enough to be covering the spread consistently.
I feel the same way about them. I like the Grizzlies a lot, and I was really hoping that they were going to play the Lakers in round 1 because I think that would have gone 7. And this one might too.
The shame of it all is that the Grizzlies would be a couple exponents more compelling if Rudy Gay hadn't gotten hurt.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, they might have been, a 6 or a 7 seed.
Well,
but look at it. So here it is. It's 52-29-1.
Wow.
They were against the spread. And this is what's also interesting. On the road, 26-15. So it's not like this is a team that goes on the road and folds its tent. It's comfortable playing away from Memphis. Maybe even more comfortable playing away from Memphis.
Hey, Chad, one last thing about the East, because then I want to go to the West. We talk about how Vegas sets these lines sometimes because they know the public is just attracted to certain teams. Is Miami one of those teams?
Oh, yeah. So Miami is a public team. Right now, the Lakers are a public team. The Celtics are a public team. Miami is a public team. I mean, as much as sort of we in the media have talked about LeBron and sort of these guys being bad guys, LeBron's jersey is the number 1 selling jersey in America right now.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, there are people who are going to Vegas who don't know anything, but they know LeBron James, who is the best player in the world, plays for the Heat. And they know that they're supposed to be evil, and they know that means they're supposed to be good. So they're going to bet on the Heat, especially if they're playing the 76ers, which nobody really knows anything about. And if you had polled people 2 days ago and said, will the 76ers make the playoffs, or will the 76ers have the first pick in the draft, people would have been more likely to say they had the first pick in the draft.
Right. Okay. So in the West, a couple shocking odds. Well, not shocking if you follow basketball, but Mavericks, -220 against the Blazers. Blazers are +180 underdogs. I was shocked in the sense that I thought that was actually going to be closer to even. What are the sharps saying about that, Chad?
Not one person has mentioned that to me except, no, that's not true. One guy mentioned it to me. He just doesn't like the Blazers at all, and he wouldn't like them if they were playing anybody. And so he was just going to fade the Blazers straight out. The Mavericks, not one person has mentioned to me as a team that interests them long term. forget about the series. They're not. These guys aren't going to bet the series so much as they're going to look at it game to game, and then over the course of the long haul during the playoffs. And not one guy is sort of thinking about the Mavericks that I've spoken to.
So, House, the Sharps love the Grizzlies and do not like the Blazers, and yet the basketball fans seem to really like the Blazers. Wait, explain that one to me.
I can't explain it. I was going to ask Chad to hear some of the logic as to why the one Sharp he mentioned who's fading the Blazers, why he doesn't like the Blazers.
He hasn't liked the Blazers all year. And he just sort of, he's not comfortable with that team at all and doesn't feel like they've been playing up to their potential and doesn't feel like this is a team that is meshing well. And, it's one of those teams you can't trust and can't get a real handle on.
Wow, I mean, they were pretty hot coming into the playoffs here, and it looked like Gerald Wallace really, kind of found a place chemistry-wise with the guys, and on paper they look kind of 7 deep to me. So
I like Portland.
Huh?
I'm with you. I think Portland's good. I don't understand that. I felt like Portland of anybody, has one of the best identities.
Maybe he got burned. Maybe he had like a streak in the middle of the year where he was playing the Blazers and, it wasn't working for him and he's done.
What about this? That happened. They lost a whole bunch of games in a row there.
Exactly.
They were down for a stretch.
House and I have been in love with the Blazers since the Gerald Wallace trade. We've been enjoying them. We like the fact that they can crash the rim and that they have some flexibility. They're a little unpredictable now. They can throw different lineups, so you don't know what's going to happen with 5 minutes left, which I like. Let's go to Nuggets Zombies. Zombies only a -200 favorite.
This is the most interesting one to me.
Why?
Well, because of the, say, 7, 8 guys I've spoken to in the last 24 hours, without prompting, 3 of them said to me, Oklahoma City is going to win the NBA title.
Yes!
Wow.
That backs what I'm seeing.
What were the future odds you got for them before the season started?
Well, I can either confirm or deny reports that Sal and I may or may not have jumped in on the Bulls and the Zombies as a finals matchup at 12-1 odds.
Really?
Not confirming or denying that.
Don't confirm or deny it. It's a curious number. It's a good number, though.
It's a nice little emotional hedge for me in case the Celtics get bounced. At least I'll have something to live for. But
they like them.
If gambling were legal, I might have done that as an emotional hedge.
Now let's go back to House's theory for a second, that you need to see a team that's been there before. And the Thunder are one of those teams that has advanced and progressed beyond where they were last year, proving that last year wasn't a fluke. And
Bucher made that point right before you got on, that there's a whole different animal of, we're looking really good, we're good, we came together, to, all right, now we have to win 4 straight series.
Yep.
I just would like to share this fact, which is that Oklahoma City is a team that hasn't won a single road playoff game in the history of the franchise.
That starts sometime, House.
I know.
Yeah.
And it starts this year. It probably starts whatever their first game. Oh, no, they're at home. They're at home.
It'll start
It'll be next week.
Next week. It's going to start.
I know.
Well,
I know. I like Oklahoma City very much, but that finals thing is stunning to me.
3 different guys said that to me unprompted.
Wow. I'm not shocked because, there's so many elements that you need to win the 4 series. And the first one is you need somebody who can score at the end of the game. They have a couple. You need to be able to play defense. They can do it. You need to be able to have legs and not tire out. That's fine. And then now with the Perkins, Ibaka, Nick Collison, Muhammad, they actually can protect the rim.
Yeah.
House, you're sold on that part, right?
I'm sold on that part. I just, I'm very skeptical of a team that hasn't demonstrated playoff chops to me.
Yeah. Well, they were 18-1. They were 18-1 when I wrote my column last week about how they were the best bet by far, and now I think they're down to 12-1, and I think they're going to drop to 10-1 or 9-1.
I wouldn't be surprised at all. Now is the time to get them. If they win, depending on how big they win that first game, which they could easily win that first game big, then the odds are probably going to drop under 10.
And they basically threw last night's game against Milwaukee to get the 4 seed. So they have Denver, a team that they know they can beat. And going into round 2, San Antonio or Memphis.
Another team they know they can beat.
Well, San Antonio's, they've had that big brother, little brother relationship with them.
Right.
And it goes right down to the GM and the front office and everything. It's a team they've had a lot of trouble against. But I don't think they've really gone to war with them with Perkins in the lineup, so that'll be a little different. House, who do you like in that one?
I think it's really going to be just fascinating and intriguing. I don't like either team. I mean, at gunpoint, I would pick the Spurs because of the playoff chops, because that's kind of my thing.
So, House, who do you like?
Huh?
Who do you like in the West, then?
The Lakers.
Wow. Tim Hardaway likes the Lakers, too. Little sneaky joke there. Chad,
I'd like to make
that
a
one.
joke, but I'm sure it'll have to be edited.
You know what? I was on mute for that. I didn't hear anything.
All right, sorry. So, Chad, who do you like?
Out of the West, I like the Thunder.
I like them too. I pick Bulls,
it's
Oklahoma.
A cool story, but
I'd like to see the Thunder. I'd like to see the Thunder and the Bulls in the playoffs. If for no other reason than any confirmed or not confirmed wagers can come in, but also because to me they're two of the most exciting teams. Like, I love all the young players on these two teams, and the past couple of years, all we've been talking about is a resurgence in the NBA and how great it is. And to me, it's because of guys like Derrick Rose and Noah and Westbrook and Durant. I mean, these are great, exciting, fresh legs who play.
Andre Blatch.
How dare you?
They're so athletic.
I absolutely agree.
Andre Blatch. He's fantastic.
Oh my God, I agree with everything you said, Chad, except for Andre Blatch. But the thing that I kind of struggle with, who can we point to in the last 25 years does this Oklahoma City team most resemble? Who can we point to and say, oh yeah, they're like this team, 20 years ago that kind of, reached its potential and went on a run that they were probably a little ahead of their time on. Are there any such precedents?
I would say it's a little blasphemous, but I would say the 91 Bulls.
God, it's so funny you say that.
Well, that was a team that it had become regular season warriors, and they had the one dominant player, and they were good defensively, but everybody was like, once they get to the playoffs, Detroit's beaten them before, they'll do it again. And all of a sudden they got hot, and if you look at what they did in the playoffs, which was basically just defense and Jordan, and they were just on a different plane than everybody they were playing against. I think they lost 2 playoff games, and both of them, one was in overtime to Philadelphia, and then the other one was in the finals. The Sam Perkins made the shot at the buzzer. Nobody legitimately beat them during that entire playoffs, and I think that's what, if you're looking at this Bulls team, could they do that with just defense and depth and Derrick Rose? Obviously he's not 91 Michael Jordan. Nobody is.
But that's kind of what you're saying about Kevin Durant, though.
Huh?
That's kind of what you're saying about Kevin Durant. If you're saying that the Thunder are analogous to that 91 Bulls team, it feels a little bit like that's what you're saying about Durant. That's why I didn't want to say it, is because then I'm like, wow, am I comparing Kevin Durant to Michael Jordan?
Well, that would be, if you were looking at who fits that formula, the Bulls, they're basically in similar positions, I think, the Bulls in Oklahoma City. Oklahoma City, I think, because as you point out, Durant has shown more flashes of that than Rose. With Rose, we just have this 82-game sample of him as the go-to guy, where it's like, wow, he's on this level now. But we still haven't seen him do that in the playoffs. With Durant, he sucked last year in the playoffs. At least during the Team USA stuff, he showed that side. I don't know. I just think they're ridiculously dangerous. I would not want to play them in a playoff series.
And it's because of Kendrick Perkins.
Well, no, it's not just because of Perkins, but he unleashed Ibaka. Ibaka's on a whole other plane now, and they have a lot of fouls. Like, I look at them and I try to see, like, how could this go wrong for them? What guy would have to have a bad series to screw them up? And they could survive a bad series from anybody but Durant. But any of the other pieces, they kind of have the framework to survive it. But House, what's your finals pick? You got Lakers and who?
Lakers and Heat.
What?
Lakers and Heat.
The Miami Heat?
The Miami Heat. Those are my finals picks.
Since when?
Since looking at it, since sitting down, going through it a little bit, looking at the matchups, looking at the brackets, Lakers and Heat.
I think he's heard us talking, and he's decided that these guys don't know anything, and I'm going completely against what they're saying.
It's a smart move.
I don't think that. I don't really disagree with much of anything that you guys have said, and I'm actually kind of rooting for the basketball fan in me is rooting for what you guys are sort of describing as potential outcomes here. I just feel like we have, 30 years worth of basketball playoff experience to look back at, and the Lakers team and the Heat team are kind of built for the long haul as far as I'm concerned.
The Heat are the team that, to me, is the fly in the ointment in this scenario, because I do worry about them in a potential 7-game series. I feel like they will only get better. And if we're talking about gears, the Bulls are going to be playing at their gear, and I think they will play at their gear throughout the entire run for the tournament for the playoffs. But the Heat are the team that worries me, is finding that next gear over the long haul in a 7-game series against a team like the Bulls.
I guess, Bill, which between Miami and Chicago, which team has the better player? Which team has the best player?
I look at it this way: would you rather have Miami's big three, or would you have Chicago's best four?
For what purpose?
I'm just saying, line them up. I'm saying I'm going to the playoffs. Forget benches.
I want Miami's big three.
Miami's big three over Rose, Dang, Noah, and Boozer.
Yes.
Significantly or just a little?
Significantly.
See, I would rather have Chicago's 4.
Dang is the one who actually kills it for me.
Well, see, I love Dang. I think he's one of the top 3 most underrated guys in the league this year. I think he's given me everything I would ever want from him as a player. He's a great defender. He doesn't care if he shoots. He gives everybody trouble. He shows up at the end of games, which I don't think he gets credit for. He's been there before. And, I just look at, it just seems like when Miami has lost these games at the end of the game, the wrong guys have shot the ball for them. You can always kind of, if a team only has 2 guys, you can always kind of force the wrong guys to shoot. And it always seemed like it was Arroyo and Chalmers and Mike Miller and James Jones and Eddie House. These were the guys that were taking all the big shots for them. Why does that change in the playoffs? Anybody?
Well, my leap of faith, I expect D-Wade and LeBron to not be shooting from behind the three-point line. I expect them to do what you do in the playoffs, which is at the end of the game, you go to the hole, you get fouled, or you score.
LeBron doesn't do that, though. He hasn't done that in the past.
He's done it in the playoffs. He didn't.
Yes, he has. That's fair.
He didn't do it all season, in the regular season, but he's done it in the playoffs.
So you trust a team that has Chris Bosh, who both of us think is a little subpar in the testicular fortitude department. You trust him as your big guy to win 4 straight series?
I wouldn't use the word trust in connection with any of these teams. But,
okay.
I try and break it down to kind of simple components, and that is inside of 3 minutes, the teams that are pretty evenly matched, how are they going to get buckets? And I just look at Miami, and I know how they're going to get buckets.
Well, what about matchups? I mean, how do that, who's matching up with who in each component of the game?
Yeah. Oklahoma City matches up nice with Miami. It's a tough one for them. They got last size to throw at Miami.
That would be a terrific final.
It would be awesome. I love Miami in any series I'm excited about because it's fun to have a villain to root against.
Well, that's the thing. Is Miami in any series is going to be great because whenever I sit down to watch a game and my kids sit down with me, they're like, "Who are you rooting for?" And sometimes I'm just watching. With Miami, you know who you're rooting for and who you're rooting against.
Yeah.
Housey, to back up the free throw thing or not back it up. So LeBron in 08, 13 games, 167 free throws, 13 playoff games. LeBron in 09, 14 playoff games, 199 free throws.
See what I'm saying?
Well, 2010, 11 games, 120 free throws. That dip. Now let's look at his regular season.
How many games was it?
The last one was only 11.
Right.
But here's his regular season. It was 10-3 in 08. These are free throw attempts. 9-4 in 09. 10-2 in 2010. And then in 2011, 8-4.
That makes perfect sense, I think.
It makes sense that he wasn't going to the line like he used to.
Yeah.
He dropped by 25%. You're telling me that you think he's going to get to the line in the playoffs. My argument would be that would be changing the way that he's played the last 2 years, basically.
I think one or both of them are getting to the line, and getting to the line relentlessly.
Well, then you're asking Wade, who's had a big bullseye on his back for really this entire season, who physically I don't feel like is the same that he was 5 years ago, to now get to the line for 10 straight weeks. His free throws, he was a high of 10.7, 06 regular season. That dropped to 8.6 in 2011. In the playoffs, he shot 250 free throws in 23 games in 2006. So I think he would have to at least be at that 11 a game number in the playoffs. Both of those guys will have to be.
House, have you changed your mind?
No, I feel like in some respects you're helping my point. The two of them combined average nearly 17 or over 17 free throws a game in a regular season, and I expect that number to jump up to a little over 20, and that's how they'll win.
Chad, when we call House after Miami gets bounced out because Chris Bosh shot 32%,
and LeBron and D. Wade have gone to the free throw line 3 times in the total of a 7-game series.
No, I'm asking, do you want to be on the phone when House has his anti-Chris Bosh rant that we're going to have to bleep, or do you want to just hear it on the podcast yourself?
I'd like to be on the phone for that. It'd be fun.
I'm not rooting for Miami, by the way. They're the villain.
Listen, you just backed yourself into a corner. You're now you're with Team Levitard. You and Levitard are going to be...
You actually have to root for Miami throughout the entire playoffs.
You got to fan up. Fan up, House.
I will. I'll come right in at halftime, just like they do down in Miami.
Chad Millman, if gambling were legal, I know you hate parlays. I know you hate them more than life itself.
But I am coming around on teasers.
If gambling were legal, would you be okay with somebody betting Magic minus 600, Celtics minus 400, and Zombies minus 200, $100 to win 118 in round one?
I would be okay with that.
Would you condone that if let's just say somebody wanted to do that?
I think that's a great idea.
Now, what if that same person wanted to throw in the Grizzlies for a little less money, just to mix it up, to do a little shocker, as you might call it?
I think whoever that person would be would turn from being a value player making wise decisions and acting like a wise guy to a degenerate gambler who is only looking for a thrill.
So let's just say that paid $100 to win 731. And now you got to root for the Grizzlies in round one, pulling an 8-1 upset.
I would say, send me the money, and I'll give you $100 to win 831.
All right, Chad Millman. Hey, Joe House.
Yeah.
Chad Millman is the new ESPN The Magazine editor-in-chief as of June 15th.
That's awesome. Congratulations,
How about that?
Chad.
It's a real job.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
It's a real vocation.
It's a real job.
Yeah. I mean, you could drop that at cocktail parties. People would be impressed.
Seriously.
I already like the magazine, so I'm excited to see what direction it goes in.
I hope it doesn't affect the amount of time and the amount of energy you spent thinking on gambling.
It hasn't so far.
Okay, good.
It is still a top priority for me. If for no other reason, when it doesn't work out, I got something to fall back on.
All right, so Chad Millman, the Sharps like Oklahoma City. That's what you're telling us.
I'm sticking with it, man. If that's what the majority of the guys I talk to are giving me unprompted, I'm going with it.
All right, I demand your column where the Sharps give you picks going into the weekend. That's one of my favorites. Bring that back to the NBA playoffs.
Are we doing that for the NBA?
Yeah, do it for the NBA for now.
It's my single favorite Chad Millman deliverable.
Here's the problem. I am going to be on vacation in Southern California and Northern California beginning tomorrow for the next week.
Chad, we don't want to hear about your vacation. We just want the column.
You don't want to hear about my column.
You're the chief. You delegate that
I
stuff.
should have signed this column out.
Figure out how to do it. All right, Chad Millman, we're going to let you go. House, stay on for a second.
All right, guys.
All right, bye, Chad.
Talk to you later.
House.
Yeah.
This is your official congratulations at the beginning of the year. We did over-unders, and I went 19-11. You went 20-10. It came down to the fact that we disagreed on 3, and I think I had Milwaukee that I won on. You disagreed.
Right.
You had Denver and Portland.
Right.
And you hit both of those. So you're the over-under champ this year. But frankly, we're all winners.
We're all winners. America won.
America won because we basically hit 2 out of every 3, and we went 4-1 on our locks. The only one that killed us was Philadelphia.
Right.
Which
and honestly, it was I regard it as a tie because you went against me on Portland out of deference to the soccer moms.
Oh, they bullied me into it. You're right.
You felt that way. I mean, you said you kind of held your nose on that Portland pick.
Yeah, I did. I did it as a show of good faith to the soccer moms.
That's exactly right.
I want them to know that I like Rip City and I want Rip City to do well. And I'm afraid of them.
The crazy thing is that our numbers would have been really good if we had done the sensible thing and taken out of the selection mix Washington and the LA Clippers, which we will definitely do next year. Because we can't, you and I have irrational perspectives on those two teams.
Yeah, we always go over on them, and
we want outcome. We want them to be over.
Yeah. So you got Miami and the Lakers in the finals.
I do.
And I have Oklahoma City and Chicago.
It's great.
We're like dead set opposites. But you're going to be able to watch enough of this, right? Is your kid sleeping now?
Oh, I mean, he's not in the way of my consumption of playoff basketball. The only thing that I have to carve time out for is my CAPS Cats. It's playoff.
Oh, yeah. You finally won a big game. Congratulations.
I wouldn't say finally.
Well, see, when they were down 1-0 with 10 minutes left, I thought about doing the tweet of, it must be April because my pollen's acting up and the Caps are choking in a game one of a round one series.
Nice.
I didn't want to hurt your feelings, though.
It would have hurt my feelings.
Don't forget about Bees Habs tonight.
That's going to be a great one.
Not a bad blood. So we tried to call my dad, but he's not answering. Lord knows what he's doing. He's retired. Joe Meade, you're going to have to step in for him. What's your finals pick?
I'll take Lakers Celtics.
Old school.
I like it.
Part of me wonders if we're all going to be like half right, half wrong, and we're headed for this Bulls-Lakers 1991, 20 years later finals.
Ooh, that's a good one.
And then we get to watch the highlights of Magic hugging Vlade. Was that year? Perkins making the three, Jordan doing the switch in midair. And then hopefully there's footage of Jeff Gallo and I losing one of our first major bets ever, which was the overtime game. And I think game 3 or game 4, whatever, we had the Lakers. And I think that was the summer we did so badly with the playoffs that I asked my mom for money to join a gym, and I never joined. I pulled that trick. It was the only time I've ever pulled that trick. The old I'm joining a gym trick, and then you don't actually do it, and you give some strange person money. But yeah, so that'll be 20th anniversary of that. That'll be good. House, make me feel good about the Celtics for 10 seconds.
27-27 last year. There's nothing about the current composition of the Celtics that suggests that they are materially worse than last year. To me, in fact, there's an argument. I know it goes against everything we've seen with our own eyes and everything that everybody's saying, but I can make the argument that they're better than last year. That this lineup is better. That if Shaq can get the boot off his foot and Jermaine O'Neal can shake off the cobwebs. Actually, Jermaine O'Neal was pretty effective Monday night. Now, it was against Washington.
Yeah.
But
it was with Ejin long guarding him, but still.
But there were look, the Celtics have a pretty interesting lineup right now. They can go big. They have a lineup they can run out there that can go small. They're pretty flexible, and I just think it's a little short-sighted to go against the team that has the best defense in the league when we all know that defense wins championships.
Yeah, my counter to that would be that they're not the same defensively anymore. And the only reason the stats didn't reflect it was because their schedule was harder the first 45, 50 games. But I hope you're right, House. I hope you're right. I hope you're right. I hope this is like last year. I hope that I have been jinxing them or reverse jinxing them and that it will all pay off. And
never underestimate the heart of a champion.
And I want to see a Celtics-Lakers final, the rubber match.
Yeah.
It would be fantastic. Joe House, good luck with your Caps.
Thank you.
Joe Meade, thanks for being our producer for the last 2.5 hours.
My pleasure.
That was part 2 of the Mega Playoff Podcast. Check out part 1 and part 2 on ESPN.com's Pod Center or iTunes, and we will do it again before round 2. That's it for podcasts this week. We will be back next week. Enjoy the basketball.
So I get to sign off. Whoa!
Thank you for downloading the BS Report with Bill Simmons.
Too much fun.
Check out more podcasts at the iTunes Music Store or at Pod Center at ESPNradio.com.
Peace out.